All right, happy Halloween, everyone. Cinephile Mike is here, and it is day 67 of Oscar Rewind, my bi-weekly series of videos, normally bi-weekly series of videos, looking at this past year's Oscar nominees and winners. I've been digging deep into those IMDb profiles, and my hope is that you will discover a new, older favorite, or maybe revisit something you haven't seen in a while. As always, I'll discuss the recent Oscar connection, awards history for the film, box office information, critical response, and as always, these reviews are spoiler-free. Now, do me a favor before we jump in, click that subscribe button, because you definitely want to be a part of all the cinematic goodness coming your way. This is the penultimate episode of Music Month here in October. I'm dropping these right around the witching hour on Halloween. What better way? We have two Halloween-type films for you. I know I should have given you this one yesterday, but again, small issues. I apologize. We are working them out. But again, hey, it's a double treat for you here on Halloween. First up, I'm going to talk about Columbia Pictures' seminal classic, Ghostbusters. Written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis and directed by Ivan Reitman, the film was released in the summer of 1984 and proved to be quite the tentpole. With a reported budget of $25 to $30 million, the film made over $200 million alone in its initial run. And when you add that with several re-releases over the last 40-odd years, the film currently sits with a total domestic take of $243,640,120 and an additional $53 million internationally for a worldwide total of $296,640,120. This film will probably have many more re-releases at some point, so I'm sure that number's not done. Critically, the film is loved. From 82 critical ratings, the film sits with a 95% and a slightly lower 88% on the popcorn meter, culled from over 250,000 audience reviews. Award season-wise, the film was nominated for 2 Oscars, Best Visual Effects and Best Original Song for the epic, Who You Gonna Call? Ghostbusters! Film was nominated in these same 2 categories at the BAFTAs, resulting in a win for the song, and it was nominated for 3 Golden Globe Awards, Best Song again, Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical for one of our core 4 Busters, Bill Murray, and a nod for Best Picture, Musical, or Comedy. One last highlight, the film was a winner in 2015 by the National Film Preservation Board, deeming the film one that needs to be preserved. Why is it here? Well, not for the BAFTA-winning song, but another song, Hot Night. That fun song playing at a key party scene, which I will get to momentarily, featured this banger by Laura Branigan. Who wrote it? Well, 16-time Oscar nominee, never a win, kind of the Susan Lucci of the music Oscars at this point, Diane Warren, back on Rewind again this season. There are so many prolific films that have featured this artist, but fun fact, her song Hot Night was the first time she had one of her songs featured on a film soundtrack. This past year, she got that 16th nomination for writing the power ballad The Journey, performed by her as part of the soundtrack to the biopic The 688. So we have Diane Warren back again. Last year we talked Mannequin, now we talk Ghostbusters. So, who are they? Peter Venkman, played by Bill Murray. Ray Stantz, played by Dan Aykroyd. Egon Spengler, played by Harold Ramis, and Paris are parapsychology professors, it's a lot of P's in there, at Columbia University. Now, they had been also hoping for a ghost sighting for so long, and they finally have an experience with one at the New York Public Library, which excites them, but now their shenanigans overall have really caused ire with the dean, who after this, he just dismisses them from the university. He wants them gone, and you know what? They're like, hey, this gives us time to hunt more ghosts. So they move into an abandoned firehouse and start up their business. Now, it doesn't take long before they become local celebrities. They hire an executive assistant, Janine Melnitz, played by Annie Potts, and eventually add a 4th, Winston Zedmore, played by Ernie Hudson. As the team ventures on, they begin to grow in notoriety, and as a result, due to a situation in her own home, classical cellist Dana Barrett, played by the luminous Sigourney Weaver, will arrive at their door after seeing the commercial. She claims that an entity who identified themselves as Zool arrived in her refrigerator and she wasn't sure what to do. The Ghostbusters investigate. Well, Venkman does. He is smitten with her. But he finds nothing. Research of the name shows that Zuul is actually a potential problem, and the Ghostbusters try to determine the cause. They do, and they are going to have to bring their forces together to help Dana. However, this will not be without its challenges. Dana has to deal with an overbearing neighbor, Louis Tully, played by an enjoyable Rick Moranis, who gets embroiled in this massive plot to end the world. And the Ghostbusters have to deal with the intrusion of Walter Peck, played by William Atherton, a representative from the EPA who wants to shut them down. And when things get heated, all of a sudden, New York City's in chaos, and only one group can save us. And that's where I'm going to end it. I have really truncated the plot here. I'm sure many of you have seen this film, but, there's a whole generation that hasn't. I mean, look, I didn't even come to it until a little bit later in life. I think I saw this film for the first time when I was in my 20s, but it really didn't make me appreciate it any less. It's a fun film, and I have to say the effects for 1984 really hold up. Whether it's, the idea of crossing the streams, chasing Slimer around a hotel, fleeing the Stay-Puft Marshmallow Man, each effect in this film works in addition to the practical effects that they have. And the other crucial element that really makes this film work, because it's silly. It's a silly concept, but this whole cast knew exactly what they were coming to do. Our core trio, Murray, Aykroyd, and Ramis, with shared work experience between SNL and Second City, they bring their dry sense of humor to their characters in such a loving manner. And there seems to be a very comfortable shorthand that they had with one another. Then when they add Hudson's more dry approach, while he's not playing for comedy, he seamlessly gets the comedy in, focused with the absurdity coming from the other three. Supporting our Ghostbusters are really campy and lively performances by Potts, Weaver, and Moranis. They 100% knew the assignment they were doing when they signed on for this film. And, there's a great scene as it moves into the third act. For those that know it, you know the scene I'm talking about. For those that haven't, the exchange between Weaver and Moranis is so delightfully giddy, you will be laughing out loud. Potts, as the lovelorn Janine, also has some of the best quips in the film, especially when we see her interactions with Spengler, whom she loves. Diane Warren's song, Let Me Talk About It, is featured at a party thrown by Moranis' Lewis. It's an entertaining pick, because we get this party, we get it going, and then we get disrupted by something that's not so hot in the night and sets up one of our bigger action sequences. So it's a fun use of the song, and Diane Warren has always proved to be a powerhouse in the songwriting category. She will get her Oscar soon. Give her the Oscar. It's clear to see why Ghostbusters has stood the test of time for so long. It's one of those films that's like putting on a warm blanket when you just need a good cuddle and a chuckle. And in many ways, the way it evokes the New York of the 80s in such a fun way, you almost forget what the city was actually like at that time, which was not necessarily the city we see. For me, Ghostbusters is a strong 4-star film. I know some of you are saying, why is it not a 5? There's some issues, but they're so minimal. I don't really want to talk about them. This is a film to see if you want to catch it because you ain't afraid of no ghosts. Ghostbusters is currently streaming on Peacock. All right. So I will see everyone shortly for the final episode of the month, depending when you watch them back to back. There's only 7 more episodes before I get to the finale of Oscar Rewind this season. As always, if you like what you heard here, please subscribe to the channel, like and share the video, spread the word. You can follow me, Cinephile Mike, on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd. Find lots of great additional content on my website, cinephilemike.com. All right. Happy watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Cinephile Mike saying, take a break and watch something new on this Halloween.